Thanks everybody for being here today, and everybody online as well. Super excited to have Joey here. So we were just chatting. Joey Albertson is the founder and CEO of Bookflow and the founder, owner, operator of the Profitability Project.
That's right.
Did I say that right? Okay.
You did. Yep,
Awesome.
You got it.
And also fractional CFO. You have three
little kids.
3 kids.
Yep.
You're busy.
I'm a busy woman, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, my dream.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, we have lots to talk about. I mean, before we really start to get into things, just spend 2 minutes. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from? And
Sure.
What do you like to do? What do you do with the kids?
Oh gosh. I'm from here. I grew up in Provo, born and raised. My parents also in Provo, still there. All my siblings are here in Utah. I am Utah bred and born, and we did a brief stint after we got married in Washington State.
Okay.
And COVID hit, and we came back. And so I've been here the majority of my life. What do I love to do? I love to be a mom. I love to be a business owner. I am, I think, genetically predispositioned to be an entrepreneur. I'm, I think, a 4th generation entrepreneur. So I thought that I would grow up and get a 9-to-5 because I couldn't handle the roller coaster with my parents. And here I am doing the same thing. And so that takes up a lot of my time. But my husband is a football coach at Jordan High School in Sandy. We love to spend our evenings at practice supporting the Beat Diggers. And all of our kids are football kids. They know all the plays and all the terminology. And so we're big football fans.
Awesome. Are we BYU, Utah State?
I
UVU?
plead the 5th. I will get in big trouble from the people that are here supporting me if I pick either one.
Okay.
So I cannot speak to that at this time.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. With everything that you're involved with, we'll get into what it's like for, the entrepreneurial journey for especially, women-led entrepreneurs and founders and, the strides that Utah is making and other areas that we can obviously improve in. But if it's all right for a little bit, let's talk about kind of the founding story of Bookflow and what that looked like.
It's a journey. So my background is in corporate finance. I did have a 9-to-5 for a minute. Started as a payroll specialist and worked my way up, and have worked at a couple corporations here in Utah. And probably similar to a lot of entrepreneurs, COVID hit, and I decided to shake my life up a little bit. And I had a few people reach out to me kind of on a whim and ask me if I could help them with their books as a bookkeeper while they started their entrepreneurial journey. And so I did, and I started an LLC to do it. Did that on the side for probably 6 months, and pretty soon it had grown to the point where I could quit my job. And again, I had no intention of becoming an entrepreneur. This was not in the plan for me, but I was having so much fun doing it that I did it. So we actually started as a bookkeeping company, and I was doing that for a while, and I found very quickly that bookkeeping is a passion of mine, and yet I wanted to do more. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't scratching that itch for me. And so every chance I got with every client I had, it was like, okay, well, could I also take over this? And can I also talk to you about this? And pretty soon we're having monthly strategy meetings. Pretty soon I'm their fractional CFO. And it's just been so much fun to kind of go through that journey and learn what I like and learn what I don't like. I've brought on a few team members in the time that we've been running. So this was in 2021.
Okay.
Had my 3rd baby, and I was on maternity leave, and I was like, okay, it's time. So quit my job. And have been doing that ever since. So in the last 3 years that Bookflow has been around, we've gone from being a bookkeeping business to being a revops firm, which is basically taking finance and operations, marrying them together, and being involved as much as we can.
Yeah, that term revops is fairly new, within the last several years.
Yeah.
That's cool. And, with Bookflow, and then the Profitability Project, those kind of emerged together, correct?
Just recently. So at the beginning of this year, in this journey of Bookflow, another thing that we found with this RevOps thing is that we are, like most entrepreneurs, really interested in entrepreneurship. And I don't want to say that it was my husband that said this because he's very supportive of my dreams, but he was like, you cannot start 100 companies. And I was like, why not? That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
So instead, my loophole is I help other people start their companies and get them off the ground, and then I get to be involved and keep my husband happy. So
hey, win-win.
There you go. So at the beginning of the year, we started the Profitability Project, and the goal there initially was just to be a course for female entrepreneurs to get from, I have an idea in my house on my couch to their first $5 million in annual revenue. Mm-hmm. So it's an online course. It's got worksheets and coaching sessions, and they get coaching time with me, but they also have online videos that are 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And they just address any hurdles that you might face in that first $5 million specific to female entrepreneurs. And as we got into it, we developed the course and we got it kind of rolling. I was like, this is just a natural progression. Okay, first 5 million, you do it yourself. Maybe the first million, you do it yourself. You go through our course.
Sure.
And then after that, hopefully you're like ready to hire Bookflow. So I was like, it's all one mission. We're accomplishing the same thing. So we brought it together. We are now the Profitability Project as of probably 6 weeks ago. And yeah, that's where we're running with it.
Awesome. That says a lot though, because entrepreneurs, they don't just ever have one idea,
Never.
right? But oftentimes, you hear of the same entrepreneur having multiple ideas, but they sometimes can seem disconnected. I think that's super cool that you created a linear path for, entrepreneurs to be able to go through both opportunities that you've helped scale. So.
Sure. It didn't feel like that at first. It felt like it should be separate companies and they're totally different things. And it wasn't until we got into it that I was like, wait, actually
right.
these are, it should just be one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Quick question. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see, businesses facing early on that Bookflow, the way you've built it, is, especially tailored to help solve, that you guys love to solve for?
Yeah, I would actually say, when talking about problems for entrepreneurs really early on, that's where I think the Profitability Project shines.
Steps in more, okay.
Yes, so they're kind of the very first step in my opinion, and of course now we're merged, but some of the things that I see very often, and I kind of tailor my message because I work mostly with women-owned businesses, is it is shocking to me how, well-educated, smart, they've got everything it takes to be an entrepreneur. They are a candidate, just perfect candidate for entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And they are terrified. They just don't know what to do, don't know how to do it. And they have so much imposter syndrome that they just don't. And so I think the biggest problem that I see just right off the bat is people just don't start. They think I have to have a perfect idea that no one's ever done before. It's got to be totally brand new, change up the whole market, or else I should just not.
Right.
And that is tragic to me.
Yeah.
It's just tragic because I think that there would be so much more entrepreneurship, especially among women here, if we could just get over that. Done is better than perfect. You will find your community along the way. You'll find what you should do along the way. Take me as a perfect example. I started as a bookkeeping business, and that is not what I do anymore. And I just started. Mm-hmm. I just started, and it's led on this such amazing adventure and journey. And so I just want to get more of that out there, of just go for it. Just whatever it is, just start running. It will come along the way.
Yeah. So talk through, you don't have to necessarily provide any specific examples unless you have one that you'd like to think of, but, as someone, a mom, for example, has an idea and wants to start executing it on that idea. What's an example of, and not to put you on the spot here, but step 1, step 2, step 3 that you would sit down and talk to them through as the Profitability Project?
Yeah, well, I can give you step 1 through 3 because we have a course on it.
Oh, look at that. Perfect.
We start with identity, and we want to know exactly who you are. Start with your why, right? Have you read that book? Start with your why. We help you get so clear on what's the whole big picture of this, not, hey, I think more people need bookkeeping, but why? Why are you starting a business? What is in it for you? What's the dream here? We get super clear with entrepreneurs on that. Then we move into branding and marketing, and who are you and how do you position yourself within the identity matrix? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we go through that with them. And then we kind of move on to systems, and that includes financial systems, marketing systems, anything and all those operation things. Let's analyze, optimize, and automate. Mm-hmm. Get this as slick as possible very early on, because that is how you scale sustainably, especially for women. We tend to go 100 miles an hour and do everything all ourselves, especially in entrepreneurship. We're like, we have to grind, we have to DIY, we've got to do it all, which is great. And I believe in that 100%. However, you don't have to be the expert in all of those areas. You need to know just enough to be dangerous so that you can hold your eventual team accountable to their metrics and know what they're doing and what they're responsible for. So that's where the finance comes into play. We talk to them about, basic bookkeeping, how to keep things in order for the IRS, how to, everything that you need to know just enough so that you can be dangerous and scale sustainably. And we're not trying to do 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, and take care of our families and go to the football games and do this, that, and the other. And you can tell I've been there by the way I'm talking.
Yeah.
My goal is to prevent anyone else from having to do that ever again.
Love that. In the bookkeeping world, in that industry, what are you seeing? I'm curious as trends that are massive shifts. Say, for example, AI and how that's being implemented in the bookkeeping world.
AI is definitely coming along. I think people are nervous about it because it's their finances, and that's very vulnerable for people. Even having me take over their finances is really difficult for people sometimes. Right. They're like, I'm opening my books to a stranger. This is scary. And are they going to judge me? I get a lot of that. Are they going to judge my finances? And I'm like, I promise I've seen worse.
A lot of, companies where they're getting to that point of profitability.
Yes.
Finances are messy for startups.
It doesn't look good.
It doesn't oftentimes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's normal. Yes. So it's very vulnerable. So I think people are nervous about AI coming along. It's coming. And it is going to be a really great thing. It does not have to, I am not worried about it at all. I think it's going to be really fantastic because it's just another tool to analyze, optimize, and automate. Yeah. So it's just going to make things more efficient, more streamlined, take the human error out of it. I guarantee I've made mistakes as a bookkeeper, even as a fractional CFO now. And then I would say the other trend is, this fractional executive suite is pretty popular right now.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. On the same, vein there.
Yeah.
Is the fractional CFO position becoming way more common?
Way more common. Yeah.
And I guess what are things to watch for carefully in that space that maybe companies are doing wrong or not being transparent on, because that seems like there could be communication stress there if not clearly communicated.
Definitely. So there's pros and cons to the fractional thing. In my space, and I really focus on like true startup, under $5 million, under $10 million. That's my bread and butter. I love to be there. Obviously, I'm really passionate about just all the pieces of it. So I would say the thing to watch out for is to just find the right fit. I think any fractional CFO, any fractional executive can be a very good thing, especially when you're looking as a startup for a budget-friendly option. You can't afford a full stack finance team.
Right.
That's why I'm in business. But there's so many varieties. CFOs especially, I know plenty of CFOs that I've actually worked with clients on at the same time because their bread and butter is fundraising. And my bread and butter might be this, operations. And, there's also strategy and, just a variety of different things. So I would say my advice for someone considering a fractional executive in any capacity is just find the one that makes the most sense for you. Mm-hmm. If strategy is your biggest problem right now, find someone that knows your industry's strategy better than any other fractional CFO. If you need fundraising help, go find a fundraising CFO. They exist. They probably won't help you with the bookkeeping if you're looking at fundraising, things like that. So, just find the right fit. There's plenty out there. We all do a little bit different things. My specialty is that really teeny tiny business, but I think it's a really great move to move into the fractional space because it just provides that same resource at a fraction of the cost.
Right. So kind of on a different thread here. Yeah. What would you say? What are you seeing as what are founders struggling the most with, or where are they making the biggest mistakes? Right at that point before profitability, and get technically here if you would like.
Sure.
What big mistakes are entrepreneurs making? Are they hiring too many people? Are they? Is their marketing struggling?
Mm-hmm.
Are they just bad at bookkeeping, and keeping numbers organized?
Yes.
What are you seeing as big mistakes that you're trying to warn them of?
There's so many things that come to mind, but I think that the biggest struggle is that the DIY mentality, that you have to grind and cut your teeth as an entrepreneur for X amount of years before you can consider yourself as making it.
Mm-hmm.
That is just not true. You should hire early on if you can afford to hire early on. Bring more minds to the project that will offer a different perspective. There's a reason that teamwork exists, right? There's no one counting how long you were in business before you made your first hire. Are you an expert in marketing and finance and all these things? If you're trying to do everything yourself and be an expert in everything, you become a jack of all trades and expert in none. Yeah. You actually don't excel. And so I have a video in my course about secret sauce, your secret sauce, and finding what your secret sauce is. And I think early on, personally, I tried to be everything to everyone. And I thought, this is my baby. I've got to take care of it. It's hard to outsource. It's hard to, delegate. And what I found is that the more that I delegate to the people who are experts in that area, if I delegate my marketing, if I delegate any number of things that I'm not good at, sales, for example, I hate doing sales, then I can actually shine at the things that I am good at. I can do more strategy for my clients.
Yeah.
I can do more of the things that I'm good at. I love being a CEO. Being a founder was hard for me. I love being a CEO, and that's different. And when I found that out, and then I started saying, oh, well, Mackenzie is an expert in operations. I'm going to bring her in. It turns out our operations went way better, believe it or not. Someone with experience knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. So I think that first step of that first hire is so scary for people. And I get it. If you make the wrong move, it can be a big deal. Mm-hmm. But getting over the fear of I have to do everything myself, or I didn't cut my teeth, I didn't put in my time, I didn't grind hard enough is just garbage in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that. Basically the reality that entrepreneurs, we see this a lot here in Utah. Mm-hmm. They're so, nervous to make that next big move because the fear of failure, the fear of,
yes.
of losing control,
yes.
the trust, being able to trust other people. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Let's talk about Utah kind of as a whole. In that realm of, female-led, startups and organizations and companies.
Yeah.
Where is Utah lacking, and what would you see as Utah improving on that women should be aware of as far as resources go?
Yeah. So when I started the Profitability Project at the beginning of this year, I did a bunch of research on women-owned businesses in the nation, but then specifically in Utah. And what I found was we're number 45th in the nation for the number of women-owned businesses. And that was shocking to me. And when I share that stat with people, they are all equally shocked. Because it seems like, and maybe for women entrepreneurs specifically, it's like we're surrounded. We have this great community and it's so great. And we're like 45th. It seems like there's tons of us here.
Yeah.
But we are 45th. However, I also learned that in the last 2 decades, women-owned businesses here in Utah have grown 77%. That puts us second in the nation for the amount of growth in the last 2 decades. So we're growing like crazy. Women are contributing a ton. We're doing, I think, $15 billion. $15 billion in revenue annually from women-owned businesses here in Utah. And yet we're 16th. 16% of our businesses are only women-owned. And so as a whole, and in the last 2 years, we've grown 21%, and business in general, when you compare both men and women, have only grown 9%. So we're contributing to actually a significant amount of the growth. And yet we're 45th in the nation. And so I just feel like we had so much catch up to do, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. I just want to keep going. There's so much more room to grow there, and so much more room to, let's take first, for heaven's sakes. You know what I mean? Let's not be 45th. My whole goal, and I say this often, my whole goal for the Profitability Project is to take us from 45th to 44th. If I can do that much, then I feel like I've done my job. I've done my good in the world, So we have a long way to go. We're definitely gaining traction, and I'm really, really happy to see that Utah's growing the fastest, but we have so much more growth that we need to have take place.
It's good to hear, though, you're optimistic about what you're seeing, is because it does feel that way, especially like within the Silicon Slopes community. It seems like there are so many, incredible women banding together, to
totally
communicate. But you're right, like we need to see that manifested in large cultural change that I think is able to be felt in the basement of a mom who has a new idea. And not being too afraid to take those steps, get those resources, reach out to those people.
And it's so shocking to me. Once you're in it, you're like, they're everywhere. You can find them. It's the we call it the black suburban effect, right? Once you decide you want a black suburban, you see black Suburbans everywhere. Once you decide that you want to be a female entrepreneur, you're like, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it's like the black license plates in Utah.
Exactly.
Everyone thought, oh, this is cool, I want to get one.
And then everyone gets
ugly.
one. Yes, exactly. As soon as you get one, then everyone has them. But what's difficult is the first 2 years I was in business, I was in my home office. I did not get out. I didn't do joint ventures. I didn't do networking, like none of that. And I felt so isolated. I felt, like, okay, this is new. I felt like I'm the only one in my neighborhood, the only one in my city that's doing this. And it's shocking that you really do have to take that first step. Brittany Parker in BYU Daily Universe is quoted. She says that she was shocked at once she got started, how that community came up underneath her. Mm-hmm. And yet before you get started, you feel so isolated, you feel so alone, and you don't know where to turn. And so what I'm hoping to do, one of my other missions, I have many, is to kind of reach that audience and find those people who are like, I think I can do this. I just don't know who to turn to or who can help me. Let's find them at that stage instead of making them suffer for a year or 2 years trying to figure it out on their own.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And on this topic over here, when we were just chatting, you mentioned that, culturally, like we're seeing that, for example, daughters of working moms, oftentimes are seen to be way more statistically likely to go and work and start companies. Yes. I think specifically, I wrote it down, you said that daughters of working moms are making 33% more.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So I love that you bring that up because something that I see all the time is the mom guilt. And I've got little kids. They're 7, 5, and 3. They're little. And they are only little once, and it goes faster every single year. And so I think that there's a huge mentality, especially culturally, where we have a bunch of kids here, that moms go, well, when they get into school, well, I can't leave them. Well, but they'll hate me forever, right? Oh, I had a working mom, and that was really hard for me. Mm-hmm. I had a working mom. She worked part-time, and she ingrained in me, like, part-time is the way to go. You can have the best of both worlds. And when I decided to go full-time and work full-time and found that I actually enjoyed working full-time, that was a hard pill to swallow. And that is unique in women, I think, not completely unheard of in men, but it's something that we kind of struggle with. It's a convenience that men have that maybe we don't have. It's not often that we have a husband that can stay home. We both have to work. That's the new norm.
Right.
And getting over that mom guilt is so, so difficult. And so I know personally, there's still many days that I'm like, I'm screwing it all up. They're going to need so much therapy. I'm never here, whatever. I missed milestones. It's tough. But when I read that study, and it's from Harvard, that said that daughters of working moms on average make 33% more. And that's not, they become founders. That's not their business excels. That means regardless of what their mom is doing and regardless of what they decide to do as a daughter, they make 33% more household income compared to their other female counterparts that didn't have a working mom. I was like, I'm doing this for my daughters.
Just sitting here thinking about that amount. A study coming from Harvard like that, I would have like been blown away if it was 10%, but 33%.
33%.
That's a very.
Imagine getting a 33% raise today.
Right.
That would feel pretty good. And so when I think I like to pull on that when I'm like, okay, I'm doing this for me. 100% I'm doing this for me. This makes me so happy. I'm very passionate about it. This is a dream of mine for sure. But when I have those days where I'm like, am I screwing it all up? I go, my daughters are going to make 33% more. That feels pretty good, you know?
Yeah, and you and I can probably agree that, this is a fascinating study. And of course, it's not all about the money, right? Like,
of course not.
We don't, entrepreneurs don't start businesses because they want to make a lot of money. They want to provide an impact. They want to change lives.
Yes.
And money, hopefully, becomes a cherry on top, is like able to have the financial freedom, right? Is the goal.
Exactly.
To spend more time with your family. But I think what's interesting here is that, like, everything that you've built with Bookflow, with the Profitability Project, the lessons learned for entrepreneurs that can be then transferred down to children, of working hard, of being able to deal with tough times.
Yes.
To be told no a lot.
Yes.
But still seek out those yeses.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to problem solve complex situations. Like, those are skills and those are lessons that, like, change people.
100%.
You know, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about earlier, right? I always told myself 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. I was on the roller coaster right along with my parents. I saw that all growing up. I saw the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And I'm not just talking money. I'm talking emotional roller coaster of, I own a business. I'm responsible for people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
Things are working out for us. Things are not working out for us. We have clients. We don't have clients. And I was like, gosh, I don't want to be responsible for all that. That's really, it takes a toll. But now that I am an entrepreneur, I'm like, thank goodness I got to watch that. That was a crash course in entrepreneurship 4 times over, you know? And so now I know that when I'm on those lows of the roller coaster, when things feel like a lot of no's, when they feel like they're not gaining traction, I know it's going to pop right back up. And so to your point, I love that my daughters see that too. I love that they get to be a part of that struggle because they see the resilience in that.
Right.
And also, you know, not about the money. 33% more if they decide to work. But think about it this way, right? If my daughter decides, hey, I actually want to work part-time, she now makes 33% more part-time. So she has the option to work part-time.
Yeah.
If you don't make 33% more, maybe you have to work full-time to pay your bills.
Right.
And so just giving more options to my daughters and to my kids in general, I have a son too, the ability for them to have more choices and more skill sets because I was on this journey helps with the mom guilt. It doesn't get rid of it, but it helps.
It helps. Well, before we open it up to some questions here in the audience, the last question I'll kind of, leave this on is, first of all, like 2 questions. Number 1, what advice do you have for all of us here as the Silicon Slopes community, as founders, entrepreneurs, business people here in the state? How can we better impact, how can we add to this culture of helping our kids, of helping other female-led founders grow?
I would say, as far as helping your kids, just stick with it. Show them a lot. And this is a personal belief, but I love that my daughters come up to me and say, are you going to something for the Profitability Project? They know what I'm doing. They know what I'm up to. They're part of that journey from a very young age. I love that. I've seen it inspire them in interesting and unique ways. But I love that they can start relating some of these experiences that we just talked about to their own lives and to their own struggles in business or otherwise. Life is a roller coaster, period. So I would say as far as growing the next generation and helping continue this culture of entrepreneurship is being transparent about the roller coaster. We don't have it all together. It's not always a yes. It's not always just $1 billion tomorrow. And then as far as growing like other female entrepreneurs, man, I have a lot of thoughts. But like I said, I want to reach more people who are sitting at home who have an idea, that think that it has to be perfect, it has to be completely unique, that they have to have $1 million to get started, and tell them that's simply not true. And I want them to know. So I guess for the community as a whole, if you see those people, if you hear those conversations of women talking about, maybe I'm thinking about, I don't know, I'm scared. If you can't do it, send them my way, because we've got to get those people out and help them see this community that truly is available to them that they may not even know about.
Yeah. Thank you. Seriously. Yeah. Okay. Let's open it up to some questions or thoughts.
So going off of the last statement you made about you don't have to wait to get started, tell me just a little more about what that would look like for someone.
It really depends on the type of business, obviously. It's easier said and done for service-based businesses than product. But I think that one of the hurdles I face a lot is this insecurity of I don't know the jargon. I don't know how to be around the big sales guys who want to ask about my numbers, specifically in finance. They think I need to fundraise, but I can't, because if I get up on stage, they're going to ask me questions I don't know the answers to. And there are resources for that. You do not have to be the expert in finance. In fact, a good friend of mine works at Central Bank, Sean Wilson, and he works with a client of mine and is helping them get funding pretty early on. And it was interesting because he is in charge of helping make the decision of if they're going to lend money or not. And, this client of mine said that she went in and she was like, I didn't know a lot of the answers. They asked me about my own company and I felt like an idiot. And Sean came up to her after and said, I don't care that you didn't know the answers. I don't care that you didn't know what a P&L was. That's jargon. It doesn't matter. What I do care about is that you had that spark. I can tell that you've got the passion. I can tell that you know what you're doing. I can tell that this is going to be something interesting and something cool. And that's what converted the bank to lend her money. And so, just starting. You don't have to be an expert in your field. I am certainly not an expert fractional CFO. I'm 28 years old. There are plenty of people in this community, maybe even in this room, that do my job better than me in a different way. And that's okay. I still have a business. It's still doing what I want it to do. I love what my business is doing right now. And so I'm getting over this mentality of perfect only, and I can't start until it's perfect. That is not true. Please just get out there, talk to the bank, talk to me, talk to your friends who are doing this, talk to anybody and everybody, people that you look up to. 9 times out of 10, they want to have this conversation. People who are mentors of mine, I was really intimidated to reach out to because I'm like, oh, I'm just a baby business. I'm working out of my house, whatever. But then I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to go for it. And I called them and they were like thrilled. They wanted to talk to me. They wanted to walk me through it. That's so true. There's a community out here available to you. There's so many resources. A lot of people are doing entrepreneurship in Utah. We have a really great landscape of that right now. So reach out to them. Don't be shy. Just get in and get your hands dirty. Start somewhere and it will come as you go.
Yeah, I have a question here, Ray Smithson. I was just wondering, because I've sort of spent some time abroad, moved back a few years ago, and have just been really impressed with the entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Utah.
Yes.
In fact, there was a study out of Stanford Graduate School of Venture Capital, an initiative that Utah's #1 in the U.S. for the ratio of venture-backed startups becoming unicorns, almost 70% above the national average.
Wow.
And so I thought that was really cool. What do you think the special sauce is that Utah has? Why are they doing so well in startups and entrepreneurship? Just your thoughts. Curious.
Personally, I feel like we value education. And we don't discriminate on what that means. So we do have a lot of resources available. Obviously, we've got a lot of universities here that have a low cost comparatively to the nation. So continuing education formally is available and accessible. And I think we prioritize that. But additionally, think about all of the programs we have, Silicon Slopes being one of them, one of the biggest. We have so many programs and resources available to us that prioritize continuing education outside of a classroom. And I think that people here eat that up because they know that classroom or not, they're learning and they want to learn and they want to continue to learn. And that environment, I think, fosters others to want to be a part of that and to become the best in their field. And so I think, just probably as a result of the universities, but then also just maybe culturally or, whatever it might be, I think we just really value education in all its forms and chase after that in this valley more than other places.
So I work in the sales ops space, and more demand to learn these analytical tools and so forth. So what are some of the ones that you use that have helped you in your business, and how did you learn how to do those?
You mean like software specifically? I'm not the person to ask. I think because my special sauce and my passion falls in a little bit of that DIY and then just barely getting started. I do love to automate and push that automation because it equals profitability. We haven't talked much about tools and how to get more profitable as a startup, but that's what I do all day. And the answer is automate and systemize, period. That's all you got to do, and it becomes more profitable. So I would say, and because I work in small business, I don't have a specific industry that I work in. And so I use a variety of softwares across a variety of clients because they all do completely different things. Obviously, we are really big into automating, but again, I wouldn't say that there's any one specific that I think is better than the rest, especially maybe in sales ops. That's just not something I'm super familiar with. So I don't know that I'm a good person to ask.
Well, seriously, thank you, Joey, for being here.
Thank you. This was great.
Great chat. I know that so many people will really, really relate to what you've talked about today.
I hope so.
Last quick question. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah. Right now, follow us on social media at the Profitability Project. Our website is under construction. You can find us on the profitabilityproject.com, but we are most available on Instagram actually right now. So the Profitability Project LLC, it's where we're most active right now. Pretty soon you can go to our website and you'll be able to find our do-it-yourself option, done with you option, or done for you package. Again, for any kind of business that is seeking to get over those first initial hurdles of business, we want to help them grow and do it in a way that keeps their bottom line healthy so that they can continue to grow.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.